In late 1938 or early 1939, one chance letter which Bülow's office showed to Hitler had a devastating effect. It was from the father of a mentally disabled child, who asked the Führer's permission to have the child killed. Hitler agreed. He had already ordered the sterilization of the disabled. Now this one letter was to be the catalyst to their murder. Bülow was authorized to devise a secret policy for the selection and killing of disabled children within days of their birth. This form had to be filled in every time a disabled baby was born. 3 doctors read the form, and if they thought the baby should be killed, they each marked it with a cross. Within months, it was no longer just babies who could be killed, but disabled children as well. Gerda Bernhardt's brother Manfred was one of more than 5,000 children who were to suffer as a result of this Nazi policy. Manfred had been mentally disabled since birth.
Wenn ich an meinen Bruder zurückdenke, das war ein lieber Junge. Er war natürlich zurück wie ein kleines Kind. Und er war eigentlich normal gewachsen, als netter Junge, bloß geistig nicht. Er konnte nur Mama, Papa sagen. Er blieb zurück, er hat auch erst spät laufen gelernt. Und dann wurde er hat sich immer gerne beschäftigt. Und wenn meine Mutter sagte, hol mal Kohlen aus dem Keller, dann wollte er das fortwährend. Machte die Kohle hoch und wollte wieder runter. Immer wieder neu, immer dasselbe. Mein Vater war dafür, dass er vielleicht in eine Kinderklinik, und da kam Applerbeck in Frage, weil die dort einen großen Bauernhof hatten, dass der Junge vielleicht dort beschäftigt werden könnte.
But Applerbeck was one of the Nazis' special children's units. By now, 2 years after the policy had begun, doctors in homes like this had stopped filling in Bülow's form. In a typical example of how policies could spiral away, staff here on their own selected the children they wanted to kill.
Die Kinder wurden tot gespritzt mit einer Überdosis Luminal, das war ein ganz starkes Beruhigungsmittel, beziehungsweise mit Morphium. Diejenigen Kinder, die man vorher selektiert hatte zum Töten, zum Ermorden. Das Ganze geschah heimlich. Man hat in die Patientenakten selbstverständlich nicht hineingeschrieben, wir haben dieses Kind getötet, sondern man hat hineingeschrieben, dass es gestorben ist an ganz unauffälligen Krankheiten, an allgemeiner Schwäche oder an Masern.
Sie brachten mir den Jungen ja immer in einen Aufenthaltsraum. Und da ging ich und da war ein Wärter dabei und da war er am Fenster und dann habe ich gewunken und der Junge auch. Und das war das letzte Mal, dass ich ihn sah.
The official record of deaths at Applerbeck lists Manfred Bernhardt as dying of measles on June the 3rd. In the same week, 11 other children died. Manfred Bernhardt was murdered because he was not wanted in the Nazis' perfect state. The catalyst that caused his death was a chance letter to Hitler on a subject close to his heart, brought to his attention by an ambitious Nazi. Any idea in this system could, with the combination of a leader who spoke in visions and enthusiastic supporters anxious to please, grow radically to an extreme, almost in an instant.
The mentally sick were held to be a danger too. They threatened the genetic health of the nation. To stop handicaps from being passed on, they were to be forcibly sterilized.
In den letzten 70 Jahren hat sich unser Volk um 50% vermehrt, während die Zahl der Erbkranken im gleichen Zeitraum um 450% gestiegen ist. Wenn diese Entwicklung so weiterliefe, würde schon in 50 Jahren auf 4 gesunde Menschen ein Erbkranker kommen. Ein endloser Zug des Grauens würde in die Nation hineinmarschieren.
The start of the war marked a change in policy towards the mentally sick and handicapped. Hitler himself signed the secret order to start putting them to death. Reinhard Spitzi had heard him give his reasons.
And he said, why should we spend money for a fool, for a hopeless, ill person, if I can do with the same money so much good for a poor peasant's kid?
The decision brought the reality of racial policy home to countless ordinary families with a sick relative.
Meine Mutter ist
In December 1931, my mother had been sent to the clinic for nervous diseases in Frankfurt am Main because of depression and anxiety about her husband.
Marie Rau's mother was eventually diagnosed as an incurable schizophrenic. Without her family's knowledge, she was brought to the Hadamar psychiatric clinic, which became a center for killing the mentally disabled. They were led to the cellar and killed with carbon monoxide gas, up to 60 at a time, over 10,000 in Hadamar alone. Next door was a crude operating slab where brains and organs were removed for scientific research. The Raus were told their mother had died of complications from warts on her lip. They only learned the truth years later.
The fact that these people were murdered is a disgrace for our whole society.
Some Germans dared to protest publicly against the euthanasia. The gassing was stopped, but killing by injection and starvation continued secretly.